When spending hard-earned money on any book, the expectation is you're paying for something good, that you're going to enjoy. Yet the reality is, it's a gamble as to whether or not that's going to be the case. But I don't think it should be. I think most decent people are happy and willing to pay for quality products or entertainment they enjoy. But because there's that gamble, you usually don't find out if it's worth paying for until it's too late. And especially when so many companies and creators operate based on that and deliberately exploiting that and you so they can get as much of your money as they can while doing the least they can. And then on the flip side, there are deserving hidden gems, creators, and books that you would love but just don't know about. This is why my Patreon doesn't offer exclusive content or longer premium videos or anything like that. People tell me that I need to do that I can never expect the Patreon to grow beyond a small handful of supporters unless I offer something in return that viewers can't get otherwise. And of course I know that's the truth, but I'm not interested in exploiting or exacerbating either of the above issues by locking information behind a paywall from someone who just wants to know if a book is good or not. And that's why I don't feel anyone should have to pay for the kind of content I produce. Now, for me to create these video reviews for this channel is not a great hardship, simply because I love these books to what is probably an unhealthy degree, but they are my deepest passion, and so I love talking about them, and I wish I could do that and keep making the videos and have them be available to everyone without ever needing to ask for financial support. But as you know, the reality of any endeavor is fueled by money. That's just how it is, and this channel's no exception. It can be built on and powered by passion and high-minded ideals, but only to a point, because those things can't pay for books, nor the technologies required to realize those things in a professional way. At the moment, all the books I feature on the channel are those that I happen to have, that I've personally bought for my own enjoyment, so I have to be very careful and limited in what books I acquire and therefore can review. As for recording the video, audio, and then post-production, my videos aren't particularly intensive in any area of their creation, but it all adds up to a fairly expensive and time-consuming hobby, particularly when I want each video to be the best it can be, the channel to be the best it can be, and then beyond that to pursue the ultimate goal that I never really talk about, is the art making of website that would be the ultimate one-stop be-all end-all resource for these books. But whether talking about that on the macro scale or just the micro scale of each individual video, I am hamstrung in my ability to realize the desired vision. I've been making these videos for 6 years now, and I still love making them without any need for compensation. But I have become frustrated by feeling like I've reached a plateau in terms of quality and content that I can do on basically no budget, but that's what I require to achieve that vision and take the channel even higher. Specifically, things like a greater output of videos, a wider range of books reviewed, especially featuring more new releases, which is not something I really do at present, but also older and rarer books that don't have as much information out there about them that you might want to find out about. And of course, like I said, with me currently buying the books for my own enjoyment, I try to be pretty careful in buying them so I'm not wasting my money, but that does mean that there are tons of terrible books that should be shown on the channel to warn people against, and conversely, awesome books that people should know about and be praised, but are on fandoms that I'm not a part of, and so in both cases I can't justify buying them out of my own pocket just to show on the channel. Then on the equipment and production end, what I currently work with is okay, but inefficient, inconsistent, and just lacking a lot of control that I would like to be able to make the videos look and sound the best they can be. Given the niche nature of the content I review, this is never going to be a big channel, which is fine. I don't want the most viewers, I want the best viewers. But that does mean the channel will never generate enough from ad revenue. That's what this Patreon is about and why it needs your support. So you may be thinking, well, okay, but what is it I'm actually getting out of financially supporting this channel beyond a credit in each video and a sense of philanthropic pride? Well, my hope is that you would see joining the Patreon, investing in helping make this channel bigger and better, as something benefiting you personally and financially due to this channel acting as a safeguard for you against that gamble I was talking about before whenever you buy a book. Take a significant amount of the risk out of buying a new book or just setting up the right expectations so you can ascertain whether it's something you will enjoy for the money you're going to pay for it. And this is so important because last year the price of books went up immensely. I mean, everything increased in price, but the thing about books, and particularly art books, which are the most expensive kind, on the hierarchy of needs and even wants, all the stuff you gotta pay for, books kind of fall low on that list. They become extravagances that are hard to justify. If you're the sort of person who watches this channel, you probably prefer physical over digital, and a physical art book, particularly if you live somewhere like Australia or something like I do, where ridiculous shipping charges are worked into the price, it just becomes prohibitive. And all of that without any sort of assurance that you're going to like the book anyway, that the people who made it have put in honest work deserving of your money and enthusiasm. Even for bibliophiles like myself, where you're happy to allocate as much money as you can to book buying and are happy and willing to pay the high price for a book, but only if the book's good. Otherwise, you just end up resenting it. And that's where the importance of this channel comes in. You cannot afford to be wasting hundreds of dollars per year on books that you are not going to enjoy. So what makes more sense? Spending $80 on a single art of book that you end up not liking, or at least not liking proportional to the price you paid, or spending half that price supporting the creation of video reviews on over a dozen books that will help you realize ahead of time if a book is or isn't something you want and saving you all that money. And in fact, it's not even just as clear-cut as helping you decide if you want to buy the book or not. Far more important is the idea of establishing expectations. I talk about this all the time. It's the guiding philosophy and force behind every review I do. It's not about whether I like a book or not. It's about wanting to help you establish realistic expectations and understand exactly what the book is, so you can be happy with it regardless of what I or anyone else may think. And so the channel's not just about saving your money from bad books, but also helps you have a better experience with those books you will end up buying. By which I mean, most of the books reviewed are related to some fandom or another, and so as a fan of whatever, of course your expectation of a book based on it is going to be really high, potentially unreasonably so, which means that you can get a book that is actually pretty good, but because it doesn't live up to your unattainable imaginings, you end up not liking it as much as you should. Whereas if you see a flip through and review first that establishes for you the exact nature and limitations of the book, you'll then be in a much better position to enjoy it. Similarly, the reviews can help you ascertain if maybe it's a book you would like, just not at the current price, and so you know to wait for a sale, or a book where you might say, well, actually that's the sort of book that I could just get as an ebook for reference and don't need to pay extra for the real thing. And of course, it's not just new books that are expensive either. Even after just a few years, out-of-print art books that originally retailed for like $40 you can't find for less than a few $100s on eBay. And so again, you've got to make sure you know exactly what you're paying for before throwing down that kind of money. So whether new books or old books, I want to help you make buying decisions that are less about risk and more about being accurately informed. And unfortunately, that's not something you can expect to get from more than 90% of reviews, because they are simply not very good. They may be honest, emotional reflections, and that's completely legit, just not particularly helpful. And that's a big problem. This is going to sound so arrogant and self-important, which is not the intent, but it has to be said because I genuinely believe it to be true, and please feel free to call me out if this is not the case, but this channel is the one and only source on the internet where you can get consistent, thoughtful assessments of these kind of books. And that is not because I'm some sort of superior genius. Anyone can do what I do on this channel, it's just that no one else does do it. That's why I started the channel, because I couldn't find anyone who produced regular reviews on these types of books that are actually helpful. Granted, there are people who give really brilliant reviews on Amazon or YouTube or their blog or whatever, but one, they're usually one-off reviews, not someone who's focused specifically on doing on pop culture books. But more importantly, two, those great reviews represent less than 10%, with over 90% of reviews being absolutely unhelpful or even problematic garbage. They confuse their adoration for the subject the book is based on with the book itself being the best it could be, praising mediocrity and ensuring there is no demand for publishers and creators to produce books that are actually worthy of that enthusiasm. Lazy, thoughtless reviews allow for lazy, thoughtless creators. Lauding books that are just good enough without acknowledging weaknesses or room for improvement is the reason we're subject to so many subpar books, because if mediocrity is given the same praise and reward as true excellence, why would authors, publishers, and companies put in extra time and effort? And that's the big issue. I've spent this video framing the benefits of the channel from a financial perspective, because that's what Patreon is about, but the core of the channel, what I want to fight against, is so much more crucial than saving and spending money. It's the disappointing, wasted opportunity that 90% of these books fail to truly live up to their potential, to the subject they're based on, and to its fans. You're going to work, doing your job, only to then fork over that money and reward people too incompetent to do their job properly, and wasting what might be the only opportunity for a book on something you love. You are allowing yourself to be taken advantage of, or at the very least having your potential enjoyment spoiled by inconsiderate, lazy and stupid people who are totally unworthy due to being unable or unwilling to live up to the responsibility. And if you're not taking a stand, you are complicit in allowing it to continue and can never expect change. Which is why I wish there were other channels doing what I do. I'd feel a lot more comfortable telling you to support them instead and feel a lot less lonely in this fight. Thankfully, doing this channel has connected me with a few patrons and regular viewers who obviously share the same sensibilities and ideals, which has been very psychologically affirming that I'm not the only sane person in an insane world. But even so, I still feel so small and ineffectual against the mindless hordes preventing us from getting the books we deserve. I want to stand against that and prevent publishers and creators from being rewarded for and hold them accountable for their dishonest or, at best, mediocre work. But for any of that to happen on a meaningful scale, I cannot do it alone, and so I need your help. So whether you want to view it from a financial perspective, protecting you from poor purchasers, or the perspective of wanting better books for those things you're a fan of, the question isn't, can you afford to support this Patreon, but rather, can you afford not to support it?